Well, each week, a group of insiders joins me to offer perspective on some of the week's top stories. This week, we're sounding off on the meeting Governor Holcomb had recently with state ag leaders, a $260 million recycling plant, to a fuel plant that will be coming to a tiny town in northeast Indiana, and more accolades still for Holiday World. Joining a special Hall of Fame. Joining me on the Insiders this week are Butler University College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences clinical instructor Aaron Albert. Also, Winston Terrell Group Principal Robin Winston, and S2 Strategies Principal Stephen Stolen. And welcome one and all to the Insiders.
Thank you.
And Stephen, especially you, this is your first Insider, so welcome.
I'm an outsider, now on the inside.
Now an insider. Well, we began, and we'll start with you as I think an Iowa native from the Corn Belt, so you know a bit about agriculture. The weather this spring, obviously very wet. It's been disastrous for a lot of farmers. Governor Holcomb met with state ag leaders, and I think the number was 86% of corn, 64% of soybeans in the field. It should be all planted by now. Big impact on the economy.
It is, and I think when you live in the city, sometimes we become city-centric here. We forget how important this is and how impactful this is, and that the industry itself is going to be pinched now because there are some insurance-related things that require them to get the crops, get the planting in. Then there's also insurance-related stuff if they can't. But then even when we do have that, and the delay because of the wet fields, so the farmers and that industry is going to get pinched again in the fall, hoping that we don't get an early frost, stuff like that. But you can't control the weather. So it's great the governor's taking some lead on this, trying to figure out what to do for our state in this very important sector.
And I've always said the farmer is the quintessential entrepreneur. I mean, you know, you're out there and you're at the mercy of the weather, things you can't control. Robin, from a political standpoint, the governor may, in fact, as they do these county by county assessments, ultimately, you know, request aid, federal aid, those types of things. So there's a kind of a political component in there too.
Well, there's 213,000 registered voters who declare themselves as farmers in Indiana.
That's an important,
So I have 213,000 reasons that he would have met with them. They're about 7% of the vote. Farmers also have been whipsawed. I mean, remember, this started with Farmers' Almanac, right? But now we're dealing with climate change, we're dealing with tariffs, we're dealing with the spiraling cost of equipment. If you're talking to people at Reynolds, they'll tell you that combine costs have gone up because of steel cost. So the farmers are definitely plugged into our economy in more ways than one. So not only was it beneficial for him politically, but we're also home of the FFA. I mean, you know, when you think of Indiana, you think of farmers. This is a great move on his part.
Yeah, no question about it. And Aaron, I know you've done so much work around innovation and entrepreneurship and those types of things. As you look at an organization like Agrinovus Indiana, which is really focused on the ag biosciences and modern farming, the role that can have in the future economy when it comes to jobs is substantial as well.
Absolutely. Climate change was a big political topic as well on the Democratic debates. I think it could be a huge threat for our country, as well international trade and what's happening at that level and how that will affect the price at the grocery store.
Yeah, a major announcement. Actually, the announcement came earlier this year, but our top story this week, an Ashley recycling plant is basically a plastics to biofuel facility. First of its kind in the country, announced in Ashley, which is Steuben County, the far northeast corner of the state of Indiana. This, Aaron, is a big investment, $260 million, 136 full-time jobs in a different kind of industry, very different, but holds, folks up there think it holds promise for bigger things ahead.
Very excited about this opportunity for Indiana. I think as well, when we talk about international trade, the fact that our recyclables are not going overseas anymore. We desperately need to find ways to recycle and do biofuels for our state. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for us, and I'm excited about it. I didn't honestly know where Ashley was. I had to look that up.
Yes.
I do now.
Everyone knows where Ashley is, and how about a great boon for that county?
Absolutely.
And again, a reminder that there's really business to be done, even in the far corners of the state.
I know they have a big Family Dollar distribution center they got there, so they've had some investment in that part of the state. Robin, as you look at Indiana's acceptance of new technologies and doing things in a different way, this is something that's new, believed to be first of its kind. Do you think Indiana is beginning to embrace new things, kind of shedding its resistance to change?
Well, you highlight them every chance we get.
We do.
You're doing a lot there. This, I think, will also provide some osmosis about recycling. I mean, if you have this facility in the town, people are going to begin to think, well, you know what, I can put this here.
Yeah.
And you're getting it for a great generation. My generation was don't be a litter bug. This generation will be make sure you recycle and protect the earth. And I think that's a tremendous benefit.
Yeah. Another big issue, certainly not only in Indiana but around the country, is the cost of higher education. This week we saw Indiana State University trustees there approve a tuition increase, and universities around the state this time of year are doing the same thing with, you could look at an exception at Purdue where they've frozen rates for, I think, 6 or 7 years. But Aaron, as you look at that cost of higher education piece, it really is, obviously it's increasingly a huge issue.
Yeah, again, another huge topic for the Democratic debates about, student loans, the affordability of higher education. Really excited at Butler University receiving a $5 million gift recently as well to expand our science programs, which I personally have a passion for, being a pharmacy major myself. So I am excited about the fact that our institutions of higher learning here in the state are doing very well and continue to do so from various funding sources.
Well, in partnering in the business community as well. So not only looking to an alumni base, I believe this was an alum that helped the Butler program, but also looking to the business community and partnering with higher ed there and trying to solve this thing. And that blends into all kinds of other things you talk about all the time, Gary, which is how does this fit into workforce initiatives and how does this fit into, credential granting and that sort of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
And we had Kinsey Academy on just a couple of segments ago. Purdue's doing the same thing, this income share agreement where they will, kind of share the expense of the education once a student gets to a certain income level after graduation. So interesting formats being tried out.
Don't forget that Indiana State has reciprocity with Illinois, Western Illinois, or Eastern Illinois. So that helps bring students across the border there. It is a regional university. Tremendous pipeline for people coming out into education, particularly elementary education.
Or broadcasting.
Yeah, I know. Broadcasting. There you go. There you go. But you have the By Education School over there, which is producing people coming into our public schools. I think that it's a sign of the times they didn't get enough money from the General Assembly, but it's because they can't keep up with inflation. But still, I think it'll be fine.
As we look at another big announcement in the last week, Alicia Johnson named the new superintendent at Indianapolis Public Schools. I know we had her on the show right before the announcement. Always been impressed by her, and I think, just a personal opinion, I think it was a great move.
It's a great move because it's somebody that people know, they've worked with. Very interesting. You had all different groups. Think of the disparate groups. You had the Chamber of Commerce, Concerned Clergy, NAACP, labor groups, all supporting her. So that's a good way to be a linchpin for success of IPS.
And I think overwhelming support from teachers who really want to stabilize and really be focused on the classrooms. And I think she's going to allow that to be a much smoother thing as we go through the summer and into the fall. Everybody knows who their boss is, as it were. And I think it's going to be a really, really good thing. She's very well liked, and you touched upon all that, the different entities that are supporting this, and thought that she was an automatically good choice.
Yeah. Okay, Stephen, I know you want to comment on the Guitar Foundation convention that's coming to UIndy, and it's a unique convention that's coming to UIndy next June, I believe. Hundreds of folks from around the globe will be descending on.
Right. Well, like my friend Aaron, I have Butler University roots, having taught there for a long time, and kudos to UIndy, because a lot of folks don't know about the quality faculty there. Yeah. I mean, that adjunct faculty is really top notch. And while classical guitar is not one of those things that people really think of as a kind of really important part of the music industry, everybody loves classical guitar. So I think it's a really great thing. It's going to be kind of subtle under the radar screen, but it's really great to Rob Manuel and the folks at UIndy to land that.
Aaron, I'll throw this one to you. Holiday World, what I think is a great entrepreneurial success story in Southern Indiana. I've been around since the mid-'40s, I think, and they've really grown that. They're joining the Hall of Fame for TripAdvisor, really getting national attention for what they're doing down there.
Love that story. It's a family-based business. I think, we need more of those success stories in Indiana. So I've always had my pom-poms out whenever we've got family-based businesses that are not only, surviving but thriving.
Yep, that's good. And our final, Robin, I'll give you the final say on the Pacers draft situation. I was looking for next year, Goga, and I can't remember how to pronounce his last name. But if he becomes good enough, he's going to be maybe a one-name guy, Goga.
and everybody will know how to pronounce his last name too.
That's right.
They have a benefit of problems. Too many people want to be power forwards.
Yep.
This guy's going to come in and help anchor in the middle.
Yep. Yeah.
Means Miles Turner has a new job. Means everybody, it kind of puts the pressure on Thaddeus Young.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where the Pacers go with this.
Okay.
But that's all beneficial.
Interesting indeed. Robin Winston, Stephen Stolen, Aaron Albert, thank you one and all, and we'll be right back after this.